obviously we talk to manufacturers every day about digital transformation and digital adoption, but how can you do it successfully without bringing in added complexities into the business already?
I think really the adoption. I think it's getting it. I think I always deal in currency and language, and I think we have to get that at the right level. All this AI to help us is to help the operator, and we can't forget that's what it's there to help, if you know what I mean. And putting fancy screens on that need a degree to understand what it's telling you, sometimes, although it's great, isn't going to help the operator who's doing the job. So I think for me, it's how we adopt it, but make it simple, get the right currency and language. Like in OEE, we don't talk OEE percentages to operators because they don't understand OEE, but you'll talk parts per hour, because if you said you're supposed to make 100 or you're supposed to make 800 today on this shift, they understand that. If you tell them that the business plan target is 75% OEE and the breakdown of that is 91% availability, 95% performance, they're going to go, he's got three heads. So I think everything we do has to take a step back and be user friendly for the operator. I think that's going to be key. And don't forget, when you're in operations, we have operators that could be 20 years of age to kind of 65 years of age. Some don't have mobile phones, so it's getting that scalability across your workforce. And making sure that they feel comfortable to be able to use it. And the more simpler, the better. I think is always how I talk to the integrators. How can you make it simple?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that sort of leads on quite nicely to the next question, actually, and that's one about culture, because again, we often talk to manufacturers about the people piece being just as important as the technology element whenever we're talking about digital transformation. So, what cultural changes have you guys made, and what cultural changes are required to not only make digital transformation a success, but also sustain it along that journey? Because it's we talk about digital transformation being a journey as well, don't we?
Yeah, I think the biggest. I always get back to the simple word of why, and people need to know what the why is. If you don't engage the workforce and let them know what you're trying to achieve, they're never going to be on board. So I think whenever we've worked on digital transformation, they've got to understand the why. They've got to buy into the why because we've sold it correctly. And then we use a thing in operations at my Certec plants where we use NDA, PCA over NDA. So permanent corrective action versus non-disciplinary action. So in our smart factory, we've got cameras doing VAR like the football team, and they're spying on everything that happens. But we never give out a disciplinary action. And that was my comment from the start. I mean, obviously, if someone did something ridiculously completely, but it's there for permanent corrective action. When we spot it on the VAR camera, we understand the why. We now know how that was made. We can now find the problem to fixing it. So I think at first, when we did a lot of work with the engagement, we made a campaign that it definitely was non-disciplinary action, but permanent corrective action that we're after. And my commitment to the workforce was no one is going to get disciplined for making a mistake. I make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. The issue is if VAR finds it, it doesn't get out of our factory. It doesn't cause us a £5,000 containment cost. Doesn't affect our reputation at the customer. And it means we can then find a new solution to that failure mode we probably never known was there. So I think really it's engagement, understand the why, and get them on board by not putting a big stick every time someone does something wrong. I think that's probably the biggest benefit. Everyone here would say, "Oh yeah, there's cameras everywhere," but you're unionised. How have you got cameras everywhere? So, well, because we told them at the start what it's for, and we weren't giving disciplinary actions away. We're not watching the cameras, to look at habits and stuff. It's there. It triggers when there's a problem. The way we built it was really good. It stops 30 seconds before and after. So when the VAR studio check the footage, they haven't got to watch it all. They can see exactly when the light guard was broken, and they can understand. Then we introduced auto retry from the VAR studio. So if that was an operator by accident, just tap the light guard, then they can reset it there and then for them. So it's very much like the football. The game stops, the screen comes on. But again, we're telling them why it's being checked by the VAR studio. If you reset, it's because it's an arm. If it's not reset, the polycus, the final stillage has got some part that's incomplete, and that's not a disciplinary. That's a okay. Let's re-educate. Let's understand why. It might have been they were talking to someone on their way past. A lot of our processes back in the day were what I call A to C. So you've got the whip stillage, the machine, and the finished goods. And if you're taking them out of a basket to operate, put it in a basket, and someone stops you for a chat and you talk and you forget to put it in the machine and put it in the basket, they're them one-offs that unfortunately will happen. You know, you don't want someone to not say hello. It's not the culture we're after. But if they did make a mistake, the machine says, "Oh, something's gone on here. I think you've been interrupted." And then we can go and check the part and say, "Oh, you've got a part. Oh no, I was talking to Joe." So okay, then we'll keep you a bit mindful when you're talking to Joe that you finish your process single cycle. Make sure it's just getting the machine to finish its cycle and stuff. So it's them kind of simple things, really. I think.